Right around entering college 2 months ago as a freshman, I was sitting in my dorm room scrolling through the Humans of New York. And like Rachel mentioned, Humans of New York is a photo blog started in 2010 by Brandon Stanton. And it's essentially a portrait of a stranger attached to a story or experience or advice that they share. So I'm going through right around the expansion of the blog to Pakistan this summer, and I'm reading some of the stories of these people. By asking strangers for their picture and asking them a simple question, Stanton was able to capture the lives of these citizens in villages that you don't hear about on major news channels. I think I spent hours, I lost track of time scrolling through and reading these stories and reflecting on each unique journey and tribulations that they faced that molded them into who they are today. Some of the stories were heartbreaking, like this woman from Hunza Valley, Pakistan, who says, "I just found out we've been evicted. Right after you leave, I'm going to start packing up. I've got to find my family a new place to live by tonight. The landlady's a good woman. She's just in a tough situation. Her disabled son lost his home. I'll handle it. I've been through worse." And some of the stories are full of hope. Like this man from Pasu, Pakistan, who says, "When I'm bored, I call up Radio Pakistan and request a song. Then I start dancing. I even dance on a rainy day. It's my way of expressing how grateful I am. I'm the happiest man in Pakistan." But all of them are full of perspective and full of hope or inspiring. And reading these stories, I was astounded that Stanton was able to capture these intense stories by asking simple questions. And I didn't really think about it much at the time. I tossed my phone and went off. And the next day, I'm strolling through campus, and I realized I'm passing by the same familiar faces that I pass by every day on my way to classes. And I realized, we're smiling at each other, like Rachel said. But, I realized I see these people more than I see my own family, yet I know so little about them. I felt so disconnected. So I made a resolution that day. I said, every day I'm going to have a conversation with a stranger. It became my pursuit for perspective. And I say this because it's completely transformed the way that I think and the way that I see other people. I've made lifelong friends in an elevator ride, on a Six Flags roller coaster, and so many on my bus rides to classes. I'd start by simply turning to the person next to me and starting a conversation. "Hey, how are you doing today?" Now, especially if this is a stranger or someone that you don't really talk to that often, their demeanor may be hesitant initially. "Oh, stress, school, sleep deprivation." But if you follow up with, "Tell me about it. Why are you stressed?" As soon as they see that your curiosity and intentions are genuine, man, do they open up. I've had "How's life?" turn to "Why are you stressed?" to "My stress about school doesn't compare to what my parents had to go through." And then the immigration stories pour out. By asking meaningful questions and paying attention to what the other shares in their experiences, it's amazing how many fascinating people you'll meet. I would listen and watch as their eyes lit up and their hearts beat faster, and with each detail of their experiences and tribulations, I gained insight into their minds, into how they thought, into what they've been through. Just like reading the blogs from Humans of New York, I personified Humans of New York. Now, one day I was getting a straw for my iced tea at Chick-fil-A and some napkins, and one of the ladies working there was filling in the napkin dispenser. So I smiled at her, and she smiled back, and I asked her, "How's your day been today?" I could tell she was a little taken aback. Not many people take time out of their busy student lives to ask her how she's doing. She sighed and said, "You know what? I couldn't be more blessed." And I loved it. And somehow that one question turned into a 10-minute conversation about the importance of education and counting your blessings. And I learned that her son graduated from Tech 8 years ago. And that's just one example. I've heard near-death experiences. I've heard convert stories and families being brought together and torn apart. Someone had an immigration story of his own. It was so fascinating. I tried convincing him to write a book about it. And he said, "You've only heard one chapter." So it got me thinking, each story I hear, each part of someone's life that they choose to share with me is part of their unwritten novel. We all have one. And it's this pattern of human interaction and engaging in conversation that opens your mind to new ideas and people and experiences, and you start adding chapters to your own novel. Because after all, there's only so much you can experience yourself. Some of us have never immigrated to America. Some of us have never experienced poverty or lost a loved one. Some of us have never been victims of racism or harassment. So it's crucial to hear what others have been through or witnessed in order to gain that perspective in your own life. And it's these conversations that you'll remember when you're going through hardships yourself, you know. It gives you that perspective, that reminder, that afterthought that I'm surrounded by people who haven't seen their families in years, and I'm sitting here discouraged because of one chemistry exam. It's all about perspective. I remember sitting in Georgia Tech Student Center on the 3rd floor, and this is kind of the hangout spot where, for a lot of my friends and I, and this is where a lot of the magic happened. I met the most interesting people with the greatest perspectives, and you know, as people came and went, I sat there reflecting on what they were sharing with me because I sat there genuinely interested. Some people gave me a few minutes of their time, but most of the time, we never even completed a conversation. We go on so many tangents from deep subject to another, and it ended up going on for hours until one of us had to go to class or something. And by then, so many others have been attracted to the conversation that it just keeps flowing. Because, you know, storytelling and sharing perspectives is intensely contagious. And I was pretty intimidated, don't get me wrong. It seemed like everyone had some deep, rich story that made them who they were. But the people I knew coming into tech 2 months ago, I could count on my 2 hands. But now by engaging in conversation and training myself to talk to strangers and making it a habit in my daily life, I've lost track of the amount of interesting people I've come across. And it's those interactions that have become my most memorable encounters and friendships and experiences. Most of you are in high school, graduating this year, next year, soon, and the majority of you are going off to college. And you know, we grow up in the same school system, we live in the same neighborhoods, we see each other every day for most of our kindergarten and high school careers, and a lot of times our interactions are forced. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, it just means, you know, we see each other every day, we might as well get to know each other, and we have all year to do that. And what we see with that is as you hear each other's stories and you watch each other grow, your stories will start to intertwine as you grow together. And being from such a diverse school system is a blessing because it trains you and it really helps you prepare for that transition in many ways. But also, no matter how prepared you think you are, college is college. Depending on where you go, you'll be surrounded by people from around the state, nation, people from Ethiopia and Cameroon and Jamaica and Egypt and all over the globe with deep backgrounds and perspectives that they'll share. And approaching it all with an open mind and open arms will bring you the most success. So try it out. You know, reading these stories from a blog or a Facebook status or even hearing them from me is one thing. But to hear it spoken firsthand and really hear that raw emotion, capture that raw emotion is something else. And it's so memorable. It sticks with you forever. So before you leave today, turn to someone new, someone next to you. You know, introduce yourself. Ask a question. You can even ask, what's your life story? But say something. And make it a habit to do so every single day. If we all partake in this pursuit of perspective and engaging in conversation, we will be more accepting towards others and new ideas and people and experiences, and we'll start igniting ideas of our own. You know, you never know, that one conversation at Chick-fil-A or Walmart or the airport could shift your point of view completely or even alter the course of your life because human interaction is powerful. So whether you're talking to those 22,646 people that Rachel said, or focusing on each individual conversation, listen and watch as their eyes light up and their hearts beat faster, and with each detail, opening your mind along with theirs. It's a beautiful thing to witness.